Welcome to the Dynasty Happy Hour podcast. Pull up a chair and kick up your feet as you get ready to enjoy some of the industry's most entertaining and actionable Dynasty content on the planet. We're talking veterans, rookies, sleepers, and oh yeah, you know the crew has those dad jokes ready for you. So let's not wait any longer and bring on the host or some combination of Doug, James, and Tyler.
Hey everybody, and welcome into the Dynasty Happy Hour. It's me, Tyler, Doug, and James are out this week. They're taking a little break, and I brought in a fellow friend of the show, a longtime friend of the show, Shane Manila. Shane is the worst, but you know what? His Eagles are the best. I already told you off mic that I was afraid you were going to show up if the Eagles lost, but they pulled out a nail biter.
Yeah, that was too close for comfort. And I know this is partly people are going to think I say this just to hurt Dallas because, well, their fans are obnoxious. As a people, they're obnoxious. I don't even think Dallas is really on the Eagles level. I think the Eagles just had too many mistakes and let Dallas hang around, to be quite frank with you. But either way, Eagles pulled it out. Dak Prescott looks back, though, and CeeDee Lamb is an absolute stud, man.
Yeah. Any questions about CeeDee Lamb not being in the top three? I mean, you got to rethink it because he is for sure in the top 3 or 4. A.J. Brown might sneak up there now, but man, those two have definitely boosted up their game. We will go.
Oh, well, there you go. Who do you want? You want A.J. Brown or CeeDee Lamb?
I think right now I would. I mean, the youth is on CeeDee Lamb, but I trust Hurts long term more. So actually, the way A.J. Brown is playing, I think I'd rather have A.J. Brown if I'm more in a 2-year window. But if I'm looking more long-term, I think it's going to be CD.
Yeah. AJ had a down game.
Yeah, a down game and scored about 20 points.
Yeah. He only went 7 for 66 and a touch. That is a down game. 60 yards below his general 125-yard games that he's been given for us. I'm going AJ Brown, but yeah.
He broke the record. He broke the record, and then just now he's calling it a season. That's it.
Yeah, he's done. But I mean, look, CeeDee Lamb before the beginning of last year, and I was one of the many people that was saying like he's the wide receiver 3, but it was by default, like he hadn't earned it. I'll say this: he's at least a top 5 wide receiver, and he's earned every last inch of that because that dude is special.
Yeah, and who would have thought it would have taken Kellen Moore to leave the building for them to actually get it right? Mike McCarthy's using him correctly. Weird.
It's insane. And you know what has made him look a lot better and made that offense look a lot better is Dak moving again.
Yeah, and not having a run game helps.
But again,
too.
None of this makes sense. Kellen Moore leaves. You assume their offense is going to get worse because it's Mike McCarthy. We all make fun of him, and now all of a sudden Dak is back, and CeeDee Lamb looks like an absolute stud.
Yep, up and down. Up is down, left is right, and that's kind of the week it was. And we'll go over the week after we give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Underdog. And if you use code DHH, you can get a deposit matched right on cue. Like you throw in $10, your deposit will get matched. You throw in $100, it gets matched. Use code DHH for Underdog. Join their prop bets; those are great to join. And also, Trophy Smack. We'll give a quick shout out. We'll just get these right out of the way. Because I don't have a show sheet. We're just winging it. So you know what? Go to Trophy Smack. Their trophies are great. I've got 3 passing trophies in home leagues. And if you're not using that, it definitely boosts your leagues. That's for sure. And if you use code DHH ring and get yourself a free championship ring with a purchase of a belt or trophy. I'm all over the place. So once again, we'll just go Underdog, use code DHH to match your deposit, and Trophy Smack to get a free championship ring with the purchase of a trophy or belt. Use code DHH ring for a free ring. Shane, there are some injuries that we got to get into, so let's jump into that. Let's get into the negative aspect. Daniel Jones feared to have an ACL. I mean, he was a pretty hyped quarterback this season. People thought he was going to be a top 12 quarterback, and now he is dust. Thanos snapped him. He's now pretty much toast. What are your feelings on Daniel Jones going into next season?
I would say he's not a viable fantasy asset. The only reason people cared about him was he was a QB8 last year in points per game, and a lot of that came off the rushing production. it's funny. You have to learn how to pass in the NFL a little bit to be a quarterback, you know? Daniel Jones isn't a good quarterback. It's just as simple as that. I mean, I don't know what else to say. He's not.
So he's not worth $45 million?
I'm going to say he's not worth $45 million. The Giants situation last year where they didn't tag him and then he overperformed. I don't even blame them for that. Like, that can happen. You know what I mean? But
he threw like 15 touchdowns.
Well, but he ran for 800 yards and
so he's
a lot
Vick.
of touchdowns. Yeah, unfortunately, no. He's not as good a passer as Mike Vick ever was, and he definitely does not have the arm of Michael Vick. So I'm completely out on Jones. I don't have any Jones in fantasy. Oh, wait, I might have him in one league. I think I have him in one league, but he's not a guy that I ever truly believed in anyway, even after last year.
Yeah, his value is definitely just completely depleted. So if you're looking to get out on him, you can't. Like, his trade value is nothing, especially with the torn ACL. He won't be back. My guess until around where Kyler's coming back, it'll take about a year, especially the way he plays the game. He needs to move around. We'll go on to the next injury, and that is Josh Palmer. He is on the IR for 4 weeks with a knee injury. Quentin Johnson time, right?
Look, I've made fun of Quentin Johnston a lot. I didn't like him. But I will say the dude had a nice target share last week, right? If he can stack another week on that, I'm not even looking for insane production. Like, if that dude crests 20% target shares, all I'm looking for. If he can do that, if he can command targets behind Keenan Allen, if he can become the second target there, I think you'll absolutely feel better about him. And we'll know more, tomorrow night, right? Monday Night Football,
a barn burner for sure. It's the Chargers versus who again?
I believe it's the Jets.
Yes, the Jets. That is true. So it's Brees night.
Yeah. Brees should go bananas.
Yes, 100%. Quentin Johnson, I liked him, but what I have seen, the progression isn't there. The Chargers look to want to get everybody else involved but him, but it looks like they're like, okay, we got nothing else left. This is it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, at this point, they have to turn to him, right? Josh Palmer was obviously picking up slack from Mike Williams. Now Josh Palmer's out, so it's got to be Quentin Johnson. But, what people need to remember is just because you're given an opportunity doesn't mean you're going to perform. So, if he does perform, I don't want to hear several guys had to get injured for him to perform. If he performs, I'm going to give him all the credit in the world. You know what I mean? If he can go out there, like I said, if he can pull a 20% target share, he was 17% last week. So if he can do that, I think I'd be pretty happy with him if I rostered him anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, this is the biggest buy low opportunity you can have on him. He's been a massive buy low for the last 3 weeks or so because just everybody does not like him. I mean, they all bring up, he's a body catcher and all this, but you know what? A lot of players, you're everybody's boy, Chris Olave. He's a body catcher, everybody. If you haven't noticed, he likes to use his body to catch. So there's a lot of players in this league that like to body catch. KJ Osborne, nasty hit, concussion. We'll just kind of glide past that one. Cam Akers, unfortunately, has an Achilles injury, another one. So this is definitely people say you can come back from Achilles now, but the second one is usually the dagger. So Cam Akers, we just kind of saying this could be a career.
Yeah, I'm not betting on running back coming back from two Achilles. I don't even remember what did J.K. Dobbins blow. He blew out his MCL, ACL, PCL, TCL, all that the first time, right? And then his Achilles this year. Yeah, and they're completely different injuries, and I don't care. And I'm like, nah, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, he was getting some uptick. I mean, his yards per carry wasn't great today either, but yeah, unfortunately, this could be the end of Cam Akers. Dallas Goedert, he hurt his arm. You could probably know more about this because I did not see it live. So what happened?
Ruled him out quickly. So the Cowboy player, defensive back, was apparently just holding on to his arm for dear life. And when he went down, it twisted it. The arm twisted. Dude landed on the arm. So he had a human being land on his arm. I saw Jeff Mueller on Twitter tweet out that it looked like to him anything from a sprain to, I think he said, a dislocation. Either way, it didn't look good. I'll say that. And he was ruled out quick. Like, I mean, as soon as he got up, he went straight to the locker room, walked to the locker room, and he was ruled out in the next 10, 15 minutes.
It's usually not a good. That's not a good sign when they rule out real quickly. So we will have to look more on Dallas Goedert because we need all the tight end help we can get coming to the playoffs. Next injury is Josh Downs for the Colts. He got injured with a knee, and he was ruled out quickly as well. I don't think it's anything major, but he also was out with a knee injury for practice throughout the week. So this could just be a reoccurring thing. We'll have to look deeper into more news. Going into the next player, Kendre Miller, ankle injury. Now this seems like a reoccurring thing. It's an ankle that he had at TCU. He had an ankle early on in the season that helped him out, and now an ankle again. So what are your feelings on Kendre Miller? I mean, we have reviews on this podcast, Shane, that says we are too harsh on Kendre Miller because we brought up the injury history and how he's injured. And yes, he's a prolific player, but he has a hard time staying on the field. What are your early feels on Kendre Miller?
Look, I'm not a scientist. Not a Nobel Prize winner. Nope, I am not.
Josh Dobbs, you're not?
Mm-mm. But to me, being able to play football is pretty important to being able to play football. So if you can't play the game, you're probably not going to score. Just I'm going on that assumption. No, man. Look, the dude had a runway to solidify some dynasty value.
Yeah, I mean,
when Alvin Kamara was out,
Jamal was out on IR,
right, and he couldn't get on the field. And the times that he's been on the field, he's really been underwhelming. I mean, he's had, I think, a decent-ish game last week, but even that's like graded on the curve. So I would say I'm definitely out on Kendre Miller. I don't know what you could get for him at this point. So you probably just hope that he has one big game at some point and that you could sell him.
Yeah. I mean, me personally, I think he's another one of those players that you can maybe buy. I honestly think Kamara is there for another season. Williams, I think his contract allows him to be stuck there for another season. So Kendre will be the third back, but we all know how injuries can strike any running back in the league, which always sucks. All right. Shane, we're just going to jump right into the games because one of the games that I was here were my two favorite teams, Minnesota and Atlanta. Now, my wife was cheering for Minnesota, and I was cheering for Atlanta because she's like, oh, you're rooting for the Vikings, right? And I was like, no, I'm an Atlanta Falcons fan first, so that's how I roll. But it was a great game, like real-life game, great, back and forth and all that. But, man, we were talking, and Arthur Smith hates every single person in fantasy football, and that was evident today. I mean, they had so many opportunities to get Kyle Pitts the ball because there was no Drake London. And you know what they do? They say, you know what? We got this other athletic tight end that we traded for, so we're going to get him involved. We're going to get him 6 for 100, not Kyle Pitts. Actually, it's 5 for 100. My bad. He had a big, massive catch, and that is Jonnu Smith. Bijan, he looked good running the ball, fumbled. So he did the old Bill Belichick, and he's like, nope, don't trust you. Taylor Heinicke, he looked like he was scared to make a mistake, which is not how he rolls.
Maybe he's usually that's one of the things that I liked about Heinicke is that someone described him last year as like Aaron Rodgers without the talent, right?
Yeah.
Because he was fearless. Yeah, and you know what? You're the backup. You're coming in like, dude, be fearless. That's part of what makes you you. Like that's your makeup. You can't play as someone else. You can't play scared to try.
And I feel like he was today. Like he was scared to take shots. And I think that's a lot to do with Arthur Smith pretty much in his ear all the time being like, nope, you're going to throw short. This is how we play. And I mean, I was on Arthur Smith's side early on this season, but I am officially switching sides. I am not on Arthur Smith's side. He is a coach that needs to be gone. His philosophies aren't working here. The defense is great. Keep that side of the ball. The defense is fine. They do good work. I mean, I know you gave up a lot of points against Josh Dobbs, but to Josh Dobbs' credit, he got, like, I don't know what was going on, but luck was on his side. He was escaping arm tackles just barely. It felt like a little bit of an inch here or there, he was down. But he was breaking tackles, running for his life, and it worked. So good on him. Josh Dobbs. So I was actually talking up here in Minnesota, and we're like, oh, what are we going to do? And I have a lot of friends that I work with that are in the football, and they go, what do you think the Vikings should do? And I said they should sign Josh Dobbs to back up and re-sign Kirk Cousins and have Dobbs as he heals. It's a perfect 1-2 combination. They're both really smart players, and Kirk Cousins I still think has good football left. He's got 3 or 4 years left where I think he could play good football. So what are your feelings on this game specifically? Just give me a couple things.
I mean, the Juno thing doesn't surprise me anymore. Like, we're in game 9 of the season, or week 9, whatever. I don't know how many games the Falcons have played, at least 8, I'll say. And they played all 9. There you go. They are using Juno Smith as a focal point of their offense. Like, he's not an ancillary piece.
Like, he was the 4th overall pick.
Right. Kyle Pitts is a very nice role player.
So bad to even think about.
Which makes complete sense considering the draft capital they spent on him, right? The fact that you bench Bijan Robinson. This isn't some 7th round rookie. Like, it's Bijan Robinson. This is
all world talent.
I don't even know what you do with that. Like, Arthur Smith, and obviously some of the criticisms are colored by how terrible, awful, dickish of a person he is. But he shoots himself in the foot. I mean, it doesn't seem like it should be a complicated. I'm not obviously an X and O's guy, but get the ball in Pitts and get the ball in Bijan's hands seems like a good theory to me if you want a good offense. But I don't know what to tell you, man. Dobbs, I really don't. Dobbs is incredible.
He honestly, is he Geno Smith? Can he be Geno Smith? Why not?
He's Geno Smith, but 4 years younger than when Geno did it, right?
Yeah.
Because Dobbs was definitely done. Like, no one was even thinking about Dobbs. If you remember, I don't even think he was on a roster last year when the Titans picked him up and started him over Malik Willis.
No, I don't think he might have been on the Steelers.
Maybe like their practice squad. And then even this year, he gets traded to Arizona like a week before the season, 2 weeks before the season, takes their starting job, plays well enough. First game in Minnesota, takes him back, it brings him down to a come from behind victory. Dobbs has definitely bought himself some dynasty value as well as made himself some real NFL money. So there's that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Like I said, I really like him with the Vikings, and just think they're getting Jefferson back in a week or two. Hawkinson, which we haven't seen Hawkinson do this in a while. He played hurt. Usually in Detroit, Hawkinson, whenever he was hurt, he would stay out. It was like, oh, he's out. Okay, he's out for the game. This whole game, you could tell he's in so much pain, and he stayed in. So I think we're seeing peak TJ Hawkinson, the Hawkinson that we drafted early, like Kyle Pitts, and we're getting rewarded if you waited. Let's go on to the next game, and that is, let's go right into the Germany game, Dolphins versus Chiefs. This one was interesting. I don't know what to think of the Chiefs. They're missing something. Kelsey's getting blanketed. They're taking him out of every single game lately. I think they saw last week at Denver, and they're like, okay, this is how you take out Kelsey and let all the other players defeat. I mean, the Chiefs did win 21-14, but oh man, this one was a little tougher to watch. What are your feelings on this?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we've seen all year from them, right? They don't have a legitimate wide receiver, or they don't have a legitimate lead wide receiver. Like, Rashee Rice is decent enough. I like Rashee Rice. I don't know what his snap share was today. I haven't had a chance to look. I'm going to guess
2 for 17 and a touchdown. He's
2 for 17 and a touchdown. Yeah. So I mean,
he's poor man's Dwayne Bowe. That's how I like this. That's how he is.
They are just. It's Mahomes and it's Kelsey and it's scheme. And I mean, it worked last year for them, right? The only difference between them and this year and last year is Juju Smith-Schuster. I don't think Juju Smith-Schuster made that offense go. So
let's not say he was the biggest difference, please. He is not.
I mean,
a difference.
He's literally the only difference I can find. I mean, everything else is pretty much the same. except the addition of Rashee Rice. Sky Moore is useless.
Tony has talent. It's just
I,
I feel like Tony is so far up his own ass that he doesn't like fully put himself into the offense.
I think he's physically gifted, but that doesn't mean that you're actually talented at the
I
sport that
agree,
you're
yeah.
playing. Yeah. Like he's physically gifted, but he's not a talented football player because he doesn't know how to use those skills and
X and
that,
O's
that
and all that,
attributes
yeah.
in football. Because if he did, look, I've made fun of Andy Reid as much as anyone in the world because he was an Eagles coach for 1,000 years and could never get the Eagles to a Super Bowl. But Andy Reid's a genius. If Tony had it in him, Reid would get it out of him.
Oh, 100%. And he did. It's like we saw it late last year, but this year it just seems to Tony seems to, like you said, the X's and O's part is not there. And you could tell he relies on physical gifts and ability to the point where it's not working for him, so he's getting frustrated. We all witnessed that week 1 where he had 5 drops, it felt like,
Right.
and fell down the depth chart. For me, I'm not a big Tony guy, but I feel like it could be a buy because he had a nice play, an 18-yard catch, whereas like he caught it, squeezed between 2 defenders, broke away. And like me personally lately, I know, Shane, we're not in any leagues together. That's a shame. I mean, it sucks, and we used to be the biggest trade partners ever, but I have been big on buying low on these really cheap receivers that have a ton of talent. Like Terrace Marshall, I'm still hoping he gets traded. I'll buy Terrace Marshall for like a 4th. Kadarius Toney, I'll buy for a late 3rd. Like these guys, I'll buy just to take a chance because not every 3rd and 4th round are going to turn into Puka. That's not going to happen. So I will take my chances on highly drafted players that still have a chance to progress because I do think the Chiefs, somebody's going to show up. And honestly, as much as a lot of people like Rashee Rice, I don't think he's going to be that huge explosion of a receiver that everybody wants him to be. Because I don't think the explosiveness is all there.
Now, see, I like Rashee Rice a lot, but at some point you have to look at if the player's not getting more snaps, why? Like it's easy to just say, well, it's the coach. You know what I mean? The coach is out to get him. Or
and just
whatever.
like you said, Andy Reid is really good at getting the best out of players.
Yeah, at some point you would have figured Andy Reid would go, you know what? I mean, now here's the thing about Rice. Again, I didn't see today's snap shares. He was up to 61% against Denver. So let's see what a snap share looks like after today.
It's close to 100%, I think, first quarter.
Okay. But just 2 targets is really disconcerting. Like, you know what I mean? Because part of what we liked about him was his targets per route run. But if you're playing high snap shares, I'm assuming your routes are going up, but clearly your targets are going down if you only had 2 targets.
Yeah.
Just on the wide receivers. As soon as a wide receiver busts as a rookie, I'm done. I'm not paying anything for him. I'll use my 3rd and 4th on running backs.
Yeah, 100%. And let's go to the next game and talk about one of those running backs you could have used a 4th round pick on. And let's go to the Baltimore game. I'm just going to kind of read off the stats, and you can kind of tell me what you thought of the game. Lamar Jackson, he went 21 for 26, 187, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Keaton Mitchell, 9 for 138. This is a guy I absolutely loved. Like, I loved this guy snagging up late, even free agent. Keaton Mitchell. Lamar Jackson had 10 for 60 on the ground. Gus had 2 touchdowns with 5 for 52. The run game was unstoppable. Mark Andrews, 9 for 80. Odell Beckham, 5 for 56. Hey, he's back, right? 1 touchdown. Rashad Bateman, 3 for 28. Zay Flowers, 1 for 11 on 1 target. His target share is dropping. And going to the other side, Seahawks, we have Geno, 13 for 28, 157 yards and an interception. Is he turning into a pumpkin? Ken Walker, 9 for 16, not good. Zach Charbonnet, 4 for 8.
Also not good.
Jackson Smith-Njigba had a great game, 6 for 63 on 7 targets. DK Metcalf, 1 big catch for 50 yards on 4. Tyler Lockett, 3 for 32 off 8 targets. And, that's about what we got there.
Dude, they got completely motorboated. Like, games like this, it's hard to look at anything that happened and go, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Like, in a vacuum. What you can look at is...
Do you think Keaton Mitchell's a thing?
No.
Come on, he is.
I think he's someone that could be a nice little player that pops once in a while. But if someone
He's
were to offer him,
fast.
he is
He
fast.
is fast.
They did use him. I mean, he had more. I don't know. See, their rushing game was so weird today. Justice Hill had more carries than Gus Edwards. Lamar Jackson had the
They
second most
love Justice
carries.
Hill.
Yeah, but
I think
usually
that's what we're.
not usually between the numbers like that. You know what I mean? Like if anything
Yeah.
with Keaton Mitchell, I'd expect to see a little more passing work for him, but he only had a target, only one reception. I look, one game I'm never going to get too excited about. When you stack another game on top of that, then I'm a little more interested.
That makes sense. And for me, he's a guy that has been on injured reserve. They're working him back slowly, and they are depleted of running back. We all know with J.K. Dobbins, who I think could make a end of season comeback, maybe playoff comeback with Rodgers, kind of Cam Akers style. So I really like Keaton Mitchell. You could have got him for free anywhere. I think I mentioned earlier on the podcast a couple weeks ago that he is definitely as a guy you need to go stash, but I think it's too late now. Now we're reached to the point where you don't want to give what you have to. So if you don't have him, you're just watching what happens. So anything from the Seahawks side?
I will say this. So after last week, when Ken Walker saw a lot of his usage stacked by Charbonnet, I was quick to say, well, it's because he had a calf or a groin. I forget whatever he had. You know what I
Well,
mean? Like he wasn't.
He has two.
Well,
Well,
he had
one
an
groin.
injury.
I don't think he has.
He had
I don't
an
think he has
injury.
two groins.
Maybe he does. Maybe he does. I believe that would make it harder to run. I think. I think that would make it a lot harder to run.
Maybe a little bow-legged.
Yeah. Anywho, your wife might like it. I don't. Not yours personally. Not yours.
You're talking to the listeners. I get it.
Yeah. Anywho, I'm a little concerned if I had Ken Walker, which I don't, and he leaks. But if I had some Ken Walker, I'd be a little concerned seeing that Zach Charbonnet's working into his usage a little bit. Could he still be working through an injury, and maybe that's it? I don't know. But when I see 2 weeks of a trend like that, then I start to get a little nervous. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, 100%. The Baltimore Ravens sold out for the run, and they said, okay, we're going to stop you on the run. Let's see if Geno can beat us. And Geno did not. So that Geno is another player where I'm very worried about his value. And we could actually, if he keeps playing like this, because he has not played well at all, I don't think all season, we might see a tad bit more Drew Lock. They could maybe throw him in. It could be gross, but Drew Lock came in and played very good when Geno got hurt a couple times. So, Drew Lock, maybe the swag's back. All right, speaking of coming back, let's go to our next game, and that is the Browns versus the Arizona Cardinals, 27-0. And on a comeback, Deshaun Watson, 19 for 30, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a touchdown catch that Cooper got off the defender's helmet.
I like that.
Yes, Jerome Ford, 20 for 44. We have Kareem Hunt, 14 for 38 and a touchdown, so the run game wasn't quite there. Amari Cooper, 5 for 139 and a touchdown. Jerome Ford, 5 for 33. David Njoku, 4 for 26 and a touchdown. Elijah Moore, 2 for 14. Still don't get why he's not getting those catches and targets more. I don't get it with Elijah Moore. Two teams and same result.
That kind of tells you that it's not the teams, right?
It's true. That's what makes me
the
think.
Player.
It's sad.
It just is.
It's sad because he's so talented, but yeah, maybe
Dude,
we don't know something.
I was there with you, right? 2 years ago. What was this? 2 years his rookie season when he had that little stretch there. Dude, all in, but just downhill since then. The fact that he was traded before his rookie contract, you know what I mean? Within his rookie contract, that pretty much was the death knell for me. But I was willing to go, all right, it's a new situation, but he's the same dude.
All I heard all offseason was, oh, God, he's playing so good. He's got a connection. Look at this. And then when the games start, it's like he's overpowered.
Yeah.
It's sad. I still hold out hope, but we'll have to see. Going to Arizona side, Clayton Tune, 11 for 20 on probably his last start, 58 yards. Also had 5 for 28. Let's go to the run game. 9 for 8 for Keontae Ingram. Rondell Moore, 4 for 3. Tony Jones, 3 for 2. Like these are actual stats. This is an NFL team actually trying to run, but they're trying to run against Cleveland. So,
Yeah.
I think they were like, okay, Kyler, you ready to come back? Okay, who are we playing? The Browns. You know what? Let's keep you out another week. Let's just see how you're feeling.
I mean, yeah, it's probably for the best. You don't want to be throwing Kyler out against that defense after he hasn't played all year.
Myles Garrett would have held him like a little baby child and just ran him back to the end zone.
I mean, what can you say? They didn't have a legitimate starting quarterback today. So
No.
As much as we want to be like, oh, it's just one player, it's a pretty important player. It's the quarterback. When your quarterback is beyond replacement level, there's not much you can do. Like, there's no reason.
People told me Clayton Tune was going to be a thing.
I know a bunch of people. I got him in a few leagues. I didn't even know who he was. I picked him off spec. You know what I mean? Like, well, he might get the start for the Cardinals at some point. Well, now that I've gotten a chance to see what that looks like, I am fine moving on from him.
After you dumped your barf bag, you decided to ship him off a little bit.
I mean, I guess he played better than Bryce Rippin.
Yeah, the ripping and the tearing. We'll get to him for sure. But let's get into the game of the day, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus Houston Texans. I'm not going to do stats. Just give me a couple things about this game. I mean, we all know the rookie quarterback won, C.J. Stroud, 30 for 42, 470 yards, and 5 touchdowns. Where is he for quarterbacks in your dynasty rankings if you were to just, spitball it off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, I mean, he's obviously in the top 10. I don't think that's even a question. I would take him over Trevor Lawrence.
That's the thing. I've been having a huge conversation with people, and like, Trevor Lawrence is who he is. Like, I don't care if anybody comes up to you and says, hey, Trevor Lawrence, we still haven't seen the ceiling. We've seen 4 years of Trevor Lawrence. We've seen who he is. This is it.
Yeah, I keep saying this too, that I think Trevor Lawrence, and it's one of those things, like, I can't put my finger on it, right? But when I watch special quarterbacks, you can tell, there's just something different about them. I don't know what it is. And I hate being a guy like, oh, it's intangibles, right? But watching Jalen Hurts versus watching Trevor Lawrence, I know one of them is going to make a huge play.
Yeah.
The other is a pretty good chance he's going to fumble
or overthrow.
Yeah. And he's obviously above average. I think he's good, but I don't think
he's Kirk Cousins level.
I don't know if he's there. Not Kirk Cousins this year, he ain't.
Kirk Cousins this year. Kirk Cousins was what you were talking about. He had that special ability where you felt like, okay, Cousins is going to make a play here.
So C.J. Stroud, I mean, obviously there's Mahomes. This isn't the order, but there's Mahomes, there's Allen, there's Lamar, there's Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert. Could you say C.J. Stroud right there?
Yeah, I think Stroud should be right next to Burrow.
Yeah, I don't see why he wouldn't be. I mean, like, what he's doing as a rookie.
Yeah, age, what we're seeing as a rookie, like you said, and just. And people at the beginning of the year are like, oh, this team has no talent. Tank Dell is a real talent. Nico Collins, Shane, you have been the original Nico Collins truther. I don't care what anybody says. You told me about Nico Collins when he was in Michigan.
Yeah.
You were the person that brought me onto Nico Collins. I remember that. Then we were talking about it. So I applaud you for Nico Collins because you actually thought he was better than Donovan Peoples-Jones when I like Donovan Peoples-Jones better.
I remember those days. Yeah, and look, I Noah Brown went off like absolutely insane today. Tank Dell again went off. Like,
he's a dude.
And I don't know how I feel about Tank Dell, but whatever, really doesn't matter how I feel.
He's connected to a top-tier quarterback. That's what we want.
I'll say this: Stroud is doing it with a good offensive weapons, but it's not like he's running out there with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. You know what I mean? Which is kind of impresses me even more.
I still think Nico is a poor man's T. Higgins. But I think he's closer to T. Higgins than people give him credit for because he has talent.
Yeah, Nico's very good. Very good. I like Nico. But yeah, no, he's top 7. I mean, when you add Caleb and Drake May to the mix, it's going to be top 9. I'm already thinking the next year.
If somebody came up to you and they love Caleb Williams, and you have 101, and they say I'll give you C.J. Stroud for the 101, would you do it?
I get C.J. Stroud.
Yes.
Yeah, I do it.
Okay, yeah, 100%. I'm
Yeah,
right with you.
and the only reason I wouldn't, now, if we're just straight up, you have to choose one or the other, right? That's what I'm doing. The only reason I wouldn't do it in real life is I'm going to go, well, let me see what I can do with the 101. It's going to appreciate in value, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But if given just the choice, you got to choose one or the other, why wouldn't I just take Stroud? I'm hoping that Caleb Williams will come into the league and do what he does. I'm hoping Drake May will come into the league and do what he's done.
Yeah. No, I know a lot of people are going to hate me on Twitter, but I am a Drake May fan, big time. He reminds me so much of Justin Herbert. And Caleb Williams has a little bit of that Maurice Claret in him. He expects the world, and he needs to earn the world first. So I
don't have any problem with Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a stud. I did.
Yes.
But I think I've seen CJ Stroud be a stud in the NFL.
In an offense that is brand spanking new,
right,
that nobody has expectations for, and they are blowing them up. Yeah. All right, so enough on CJ Stroud. We talked about him. Tank Dell, we all really like, and Nico, we think, is a real thing. Noah Brown had a career day, so we're not going to get into him. Dalton Schultz, on a one-year deal, maybe they re-sign him after a breakout year. Maybe it was a prove-it deal, so maybe they bring him back. I probably would guess they would, because they have a quarterback on a rookie contract, so they can do a lot with that. Going to the Tampa Bay side, you got anybody you want to mention on Tampa Bay side? Rashad White is a Jag, right?
Yeah. He is the epitome of just a guy, but they're using him as a receiver, which is great because he's not particularly doing much as a pure running back. But it's fine because they recognize that their running game is not very good. So they are using him as a receiver. 20 for 73 today. That's hilarious. But whatever. They're usually using him as a receiver. Another 4 targets for him, 46 yards. That's like his floor is 4 receptions, it feels like. Mike Evans just goes out there and does what, Mike Evans continues to do. It's Mike Evans.
What he's been doing since 2014. Like
K. Dotton's turning into a legitimate top 10 tight end. For whatever that's worth.
I was gonna say, I mean, we gotta explain what you mean here, because people are thinking, "Oh my God, he's getting like 80 yards a game." No. Yeah, we're talking a touchdown and 40 yards.
I don't mean to make it sound like he's elite, but he's a top 12 tight end, top 10 tight end, and for the most part, Chris Godwin's just been really disappointing this year. That continued this week.
He needs to get a new team. I love Godwin, but he just doesn't fit in this offense. And an offense that I think might stick with Baker next year.
Why wouldn't they? I mean, Baker's been played really well this year. Really well. I
agree. Use the draft pick on something else. Pay Baker like $25 million a year, which is very cheap for quarterback.
He has his limitations, right? We know that. He's not who people thought he was coming out of college. But he can be an above average game manager type of quarterback with a little bit of moxie.
Can't forget that Baker moxie.
Just want to say moxie.
I mean, that's Baker Mayfield to a T. Speaking of moxie, let's go to the Bears versus Saints. The Saints pulled the victory. Tyson Bagent had some moxie. We even had people on Twitter saying Tyson Bagent may make people forget about Justin Fields. And then 4 turnovers happen, and he loses the game. The Saints were trying to give this game away. And Tyson Bagent said, "No, thank you. No. This is yours."
Tyson Bagent isn't good. And he's good. I'll say this.
He's a good backup.
He's good enough to be one of the better backups. I think he's
Taylor Heineke.
He could be an okay spot starter. You know what I mean? Like, if he's a guy, you give him enough time, work with him to work on the turnovers. He's a guy that I think you'd be comfortable if you go, all right, we got to throw Tyler out there for 3 weeks. Like, you know what I mean? But he's clearly not a starting NFL quarterback, and that's all right, because not everybody is.
Yeah.
Just on the Saints, I'm still concerned about Chris Olave.
Saints
He's
are
a guy
terrible.
I loved. I absolutely loved coming into the season. I know he had a touchdown and 60 yards today. That's a very quiet
46.
game. 46 yards.
6 for 46 and a touchdown.
Yeah. He's seeing he's the target leader for that team if you exclude Alvin Kamara. I don't know what Alvin Kamara did today. I'm going to assume
Alvin Kamara had 5 targets, 4 for
that's
44.
it. So it was a quiet day. It wasn't a double-digit day.
It was
for
a
Alvin Kamara.
quiet day for Kamara.
Yeah, Derek Carr just feels like he's holding that. I don't know if it's Derek Carr. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know what it is, but that offense is truly underwhelming.
It's not good. Like I said, if Justin Fields was in this game, I think the Bears would have won, and there's no doubt in my mind because the Saints were trying to give this game away, and they gave the Bears tons of opportunities. But like I said, I mean, the Bears threw 3 picks. Tyson Badger had a fumble, and it was rough sailing. Cole Kmet had 2 touchdowns. I love seeing that because I do think he is another one of those guys that is always going to be slept on at tight end, and he got paid, so he's going to be there for a while, and he's going to be their tight end, and he's their second option in the passing game, even though Mooney had a pretty good game. Roschon Johnson, 2 for 6. What was your feels on Roschon early on in the season?
I have no idea. I thought I thought that was going to be Roschon's job at some point. Like, honestly, in the beginning of the season, I thought there's no way that he doesn't just take this job. How does he not take this job? I don't want to say he's not good, right? I feel like I'm mean when I say that. He hasn't shown anything. He hasn't done anything to make it his team, right? He got some run over Dante Foreman last week, but it clearly didn't carry over into this game.
I'll just say one thing. If you aren't coached by Arthur Smith, if you're a 4th round pick or later, you have 1 year to get out from under him. I mean, Tyler Algier is getting run because Arthur Smith is terrible at what he does. But if you're not coached by Arthur Smith and you're a 4th, 5th, or 6th round pick at running back, or you're Isaiah Pacheco, like Isaiah Pacheco, I think has staying power because I think he's a good running back. But
yeah, I don't know. Apropos of nothing, I think about this more than I probably should have. Is me always telling people that they should sell Isaiah Pacheco and they should have sold Dameon Pierce. It looks like I was correct on Dameon Pierce, but Isaiah Pacheco, I'll take the L on because that dude is a functional, useful piece of the offense.
They were
Kansas City.
Go back to that game. They were so successful with Pacheco, but they just seemed to want to throw the ball. And
it wasn't when you have Sky Moore, MVS,
why wouldn't you, right?
McCole Hardman, you're going to throw the ball a lot.
I completely get it. All right, let's go on to the next game, and that's the Packers versus the Rams. Whoa, the Rams don't really have too much. Puka did his thing, though. He had 3 for 32, 7 targets for Cooper, 2 for 48. Better days are ahead for them when they get Stafford, but, man, this shows that if Stafford retires, leaves, or anything like that, they're in trouble. They need to find a backup option. Hey, if Stetson...
Well, that's what I was going to say. If their quarterback plan is Brett Rippon, then I
really like Stetson
Cooper
Bennett.
Really bad trouble.
I wish Stetson Bennett was in rehab. I don't think that's where he's at.
Where is he?
He has problems with the alcohol and all that, and it's unknown what's wrong with him because he's not with the team. And Sean McVay says he's good spirits and stuff. All these clues are leading me to saying, hey, he's in rehab. Like, that's where he's at. And wherever he's at, I hope for the best for him because I do think he has talent. Like, this is a guy that showed out in the preseason, won national championships as a walk-on. He's the same size as Bryce Young. Why can't he succeed too? In this offense too with Sean McVay, I still like Stetson Bennett, even though he's like 38 years old. He's a guy that I would go out and try to acquire on the very cheap. And a guy that a lot of people were on, including me, Jordan Love. Well, what are your feelings on Jordan Love after week 9?
He sucks.
He's not good.
He's not good.
I'll throw in the towel. I'll admit it.
I throw in the towel either last week or the week before on him because I was one of those people in the offseason going, look, Green Bay must have seen something. They're willing to move on from Aaron Rodgers. They're going to let this kid take the reins. And, after he had an absurd touchdown rate through the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Even then, though, I was gritting my teeth because I was like, when this comes back to earth, he's not completing 50% of his passes. Like, this isn't good. Now, today he went 20 for 26. Good for him. And he had a decent game, 228, touchdown.
His QBR was 41.5.
I don't
That's
know. I
not
don't.
good.
Yeah. His rating's 115 though, which isn't bad. But
But what's the difference between QBR and
I don't
quarterback
know.
rate?
So the QBR actually incorporates some other stuff that I don't feel like talking about.
Like looks, height, weight.
Yeah, it looks. It definitely looks.
Bryce Young will never hit 50 QBR just due to height, weight.
Yeah,
We'll get into Bryce Young.
yeah. I don't even know what to say about Bryce Young.
I still love Bryce Young. I still believe. I have to. But going into Green Bay, Luke Musgrave's a guy I'm going to keep trying to buy. Love his outlook for the future. Christian Watson. That's a guy I want to get into. Christian Watson is a guy that was super hyped. Everybody loves. What are your feelings on Christian Watson after week 9?
I mean, so I'm in.
Future Kansas City Chief, Christian
I'm
Watson.
in. I want to say 33 Dynasty leagues. And I have a total of, let me see how many Christian Watsons I have.
You're probably in the same boat as me.
Two. I have
Yeah.
2 shares of Christian Watson. And Christian Watson, a player at that price, isn't a player that's not attainable. You know what I mean? It's not the same thing as going like, well, I only have 3 of Patrick Mahomes. Well, because you can't get Patrick Mahomes. You can get Christian Watson. You really want Christian Watson. He's just, there's no reason to believe that he's going to be a legitimate wide receiver 1 in the NFL, let alone in fantasy.
What's the difference between him and Jameson Williams?
He gambles less or gets caught less.
If you could
That's
choose
all I
one,
got,
who would you pick?
I would take Watson. At least I've seen him produce a little bit in his rookie season. And, as much as I'm trashing him right now, he's had at least one good game this year, right? Or am I imagining that?
He might have caught a touchdown, but
sounds right.
Yeah, for me, they're both in the same bucket, but I think their values, what they're worth and what they could pull is way more. Donovan Peoples-Jones, I don't know if people saw the Lions Monday night game against the Raiders, but they had a run out to Jameson Williams' side, and they said if you don't block, you don't get the ball. And Jameson Williams literally let the corner go right to Gibbs. And I laughed because I tried to buy Jameson Williams right before the game. I thought there was a chance he could break out because he had all the opportunity, and he had a massive drop. He got smoked, head to ground contact. I'm like, oh, well, he's got a concussion. He didn't block, and he had one catch. And for me, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones was brought in for that reason because Donovan Peoples-Jones is a good blocker, actually one of the better blockers that the Browns had at wide receiver, as we saw Cedric Tillman get in play a little more this week. But Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think we're going to see a lot more than people think, and Jameson Williams could be taking a back seat.
Jameson Williams is absolutely horrendous, and I've been telling people that for a long, long time now. I know he's only been in the league 2 years, so.
He had one good season in college, had to transfer, worked with Bryce Young. Hey, why didn't they make an even swap for Terrace Marshall? Terrace Marshall for Jameson Williams sounded just perfect. Get Bryce a little more downfield work. Who knows? And speaking of Bryce Young, let's just talk about that game. We had the Colts 27, the Panthers 13. We all know Jonathan Taylor's kind of worked back in as a backup to Zach Moss, but we won't get too deep into that. I want to mainly talk about Bryce Young as we are getting short on time. Bryce Young, what is your outlook on Bryce?
I'm scared. I'm not gonna lie to you, Tyler. I'm very scared.
Do you think it's Greg?
No, because when I watch, you remember we were talking about that whole I don't see anything special there.
Yeah,
I don't see, and he does not look like the same dude from college to me right now. And part of that might just be confidence. You know what I mean? He hasn't performed well, so he has no real reason to have that swag to him. But part of what you like about players, at least the really, really great ones, is they have that swag even when they shouldn't have that swag, most likely, when they, things are going poorly. I'm concerned. I mean, the problem is you can't do anything about that concern. His dynasty value is what it is. It's not like I could trade him for CJ Stroud straight up anywhere.
No.
So you just got to sit with him, hold him in your pocket, and hope that things will get better. And then you can pretend that you were, well, in your case, you can stay strong. I'll pretend that I never faltered. And the reason that I have so many shares of him is because I always believed in him. But the truth is going to be because I couldn't move him for anything of like value.
I'm buying. I have way too much blind faith in Bryce Young because I have been a massive fan for years. I believe the talent's still there, and honestly, I think it is talent. If he had Tank Dell and Nico Collins, he would be playing much better. So that's where I'm at. I posted on Twitter. I said, hey, I don't want to hear the CJ Stroud has no weapons either, because Stroud, I think, has a lot better weapons. Dalton Schultz is probably 10 times better than Hayden Hurst. Adam Thielen is a good weapon, but is John Mechie around the same talent? If he got as many targets, like if Mechie got the targets Thielen's getting, maybe he's producing like this. Yeah, for me, it's just talent around. I mean, Steven Sullivan had 4 catches. Who the hell is Steven Sullivan, Shane?
I don't know that that's a real person.
We play Dynasty, and we go into deep dynasties, and I've never heard of Steve Sullivan. I think he's a tight end, maybe, possibly.
I'm going to look him up right now. He is definitely a tight end.
He is a tight end. He's 26.
He's 26.
He's from LSU.
I've never heard of him until right now.
Yeah. He had 4 catches today for 26 yards. Everything's short. They're not trusting him to go deep. Their play designs aren't special. It's Frank Reich, I think. That's what I'm going to put the blame on. Frank Reich. I mean, he took Matt Ryan, who I thought still had juice left. He took Matt Ryan and was like, okay, we're just going to have you do vanilla stuff. And he sucked. Like it took Matt Ryan from a starting quarterback that they traded for a good amount to nothing. So Frank Reich, I think, is like, even watching Frank Reich in interviews, it's like he's so dull and vanilla. He's so boring.
It was, yeah, and that is. It seems like a check down offense. Check down. What's the easiest read? Like, we're not so concerned about. Definitely not concerned about going down the field, because I haven't watched complete Panther games. Obviously, I'm just watching snippets here and there, a couple minutes here and there, a few drives here and there.
I watch Red Zone, and they're hardly on Red Zone.
Yeah, I joke about it, right? So you know how Sleeper makes your phone go off with all the alerts.
Yeah,
and it's like a Panthers game's just like Thursday night was with Pittsburgh and Tennessee.
Yeah,
like my phone went off, I think 3 times total for a big play alert. Like, and that's what it is with Carolina. Like, there's no way they're not last in the league in explosive plays. It's just
100%. And my last question, this is a good one. Will Levis or Bryce Young in Dynasty?
Bryce Young.
Okay. I was going to say.
I haven't. No. I have not fallen that far. That's insanity.
I like Will Levis, but I'm not there yet. I still think Bryce has a lot more staying power than Will Levis, even though I think Will Levis is here to stay for at least another year. Let's go to the Commanders versus the Patriots. We already talked about Juju Smith-Schuster, so don't need to get into that. All-star player. The Commanders, let's get into Antonio Gibson, 5 for 42. He also had 6 for 34 on the ground. Looked good. Do you still believe?
No. I've stopped believing in him last year when he continued to fumble.
Sam Howell,
I will say I believe in a lot more than I did. I had him and Ritter in the same boat, which I think a lot of people kind of did. Yeah. But I obviously Sam Howell has well outperformed Ritter, and Sam Howell actually looks like a starting viable quarterback.
I wanted Atlanta to take Howell in that draft over Ritter, and I was very disappointed that they did not.
Yeah, I think Howell. I keep going back and forth with him. Like, I don't know what Washington's going to do next year. Like, I feel like they're clearly rebuilding. I feel like they should be rebuilding, but I don't think they're going to be able to get another quarterback. Like, they're not going to be in a position to. And Sam Howell hasn't done anything, especially fantasy. If you're just looking at fantasy production, he's the top 8 quarterback, I think, or definitely top 10. I don't know that he's done anything where you go, no, this dude doesn't deserve another year. Like, obviously there's still 7 games left or whatever, but he's looked good. And the 2 games he's played against the Eagles, he's looked freaking superb. So,
yeah, I mean, they have the Eagles number for sure. And I thought they were going to actually take down the Eagles again last week. Was it last week?
Was it last week on the Eagles? Yeah. I don't
All
know.
right,
I can't
let's
keep
get
track.
into a little more rapid fire. I'll just mention the game, and you give me something about it. The Giants and Raiders. The
No,
Raiders off of their firing of the coach. You have to talk about this game, Shane. And
no.
Aiden O'Connell comes in and lights the world on fire. Mr. YOLO Ball himself, Farva, is what he looks like, and he plays like Favre is what the shirt he was wearing. Devontae Adams did not have a great game. Hunter Renfrow finally involved, but Josh Jacobs getting the workload and the ball at the goal line, and the defense showing up. Max Crosby, an IDP league, saved my butt this week. Love. I know, Shane, you're a big fan of IDP leagues, so I know you like hearing that.
I don't even know if that's a real thing. Look, Josh Jacobs, outside of a couple games, the last couple games under Josh McDaniels before he got fired,
the worst coach possibly in NFL.
One of the worst coaches in the history of the NFL. Was generally getting 20 touches a game. Like that, I'd expect that to be the normal going forward. If you have the Raiders offense, there's no reason in the world that Jacobs doesn't get 20 touches a game and that Devontae Adams doesn't get 10 targets, except that Aiden O'Connell's didn't seem particularly good at throwing the football, but he did target Adams 7 times today. So there's that.
Yeah. And on the other side, Jalen Hyatt is still a massive buy to me. He missed a couple deep balls. And Tommy DeVito is not it for the Giants. They need to find a backup, and Carson Wentz, your favorite, Shane, could be the one that they call.
I am dreaming Carson Wentz ends up somewhere. If
it's
Matt
hunting
Stafford,
season, Shane. He's not going to leave hunting season.
If Matt Stafford can't go, please send him to LA. I don't care. Just get him somewhere.
Yeah. And going to the last game, Dallas Cowboys versus Eagles, we already kind of dipped into that early on. So we won't dig into that. Shane, you got any other takes from the week before we leave?
No, man. So I usually end up digging into all the stats Sunday night during the Sunday night game. So I'm a little behind schedule is what I usually do.
All right.
And then I start digging in on Monday.
Since I'm putting you on the spot, give me
Here's one.
Give me
Dak
3
is
buys.
back. Did I say that? Dak is back.
Yeah, because he's using. Yeah, you said that because he's using his legs a little more, getting outside the pocket. Which, hey, Mike, this is what you had to do the whole time. And hey, Kellen Moore in L.A., get Justin Herbert out of the pocket because you know how good this fucking arm is on this guy. Where if you roll him out right and he can just freaking bomb it. Hey, maybe do that, Kellen Moore. That's just an idea, but. Give me 3 buys before we head out. That's what I'll talk to you last because I know you run Dynasty Trades in 5, Dynasty Trades HQ. So you got trades in both these names. So give me 3 buys.
Tyler, I left Dynasty Trades HQ.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Well, hey, this is new news to me. Did everybody leave that? No.
Everybody knows it.
I didn't know. So
no, you didn't know.
This is new news to me. I mean, I know Taylor Swift is big right now, but hopefully it's not due to bad blood.
No bad blood.
It's just because Sipes is in a nursing home now. We get it.
What's funny is I'm actually with Destination Devi now, and we've been
love those guys. Yeah,
we've been playing with the Trinity Tracker. It's a new tool that Ray just put out. And before this week, I put out, and one of these takes looked really good. I was like, go buy Deontay Johnson. He goes out there, drops 20-something points. I also said to go buy Marquise Brown. But in fairness to me,
I still like Hollywood a lot. So Kyler's coming back. This could be a week too early.
Yeah, he went with Clayton Tune, so I'm not going to give him too much credit. Yeah, and Amari Cooper was a guy that I'm always buying. Because now the problem is he went 5 for 140 or whatever he did. So his price might have bumped up to, I don't know, you have to throw a third on that second that you were going to spend on him. So definitely those 3.
So I do want to say about Amari Cooper, and I was watching today. Dynasty people don't like Amari Cooper. They haven't for like 3 years. I don't know what it is, if it's injuries or just him switching teams and him not being respected. But if you watch any receiver from the NFL or you watch Top 100 and they talk about route running and route running ability, they always praise Amari Cooper. Everything I've seen from receivers, and they're like, oh, who's your favorite, the receiver you like to model your game after? It seemed like anybody who's a true route runner is like Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is like an elite level route runner. So for me personally, he's a guy that I think has staying power for another 3-4 years.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it is with Amari Cooper is, and you know how it is in Dynasty, right? We all jump on someone's bandwagon when they produce at a young age, which he did because he came in the NFL at like 5.
Actually, I think it was 6, Shane. Come on.
He was incredibly young. Like it was the joke was Amari Cooper was in the league for 15 years and somehow was still only 24 years old.
Yes.
But Amari Cooper never took that next step. So it may be typical fantasy reaction back then. I don't know. But a lot of us overreacted. We went, well, if he's not elite, that must mean that he sucks.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's a good in between there. Like he's a very good wide receiver too.
Yeah.
And from an NFL perspective, he's a legitimate wide receiver 1 for the Browns, and he was a legitimate wide receiver 1 when he was with the Cowboys. He's a good receiver. It's just that we were hoping in dynasty circles that he was going to turn into an elite wide receiver. And yeah, his route running is superb, and his hands are great too.
Yeah.
Like you get it near him, like he's going to catch it.
100%. All right, so give me those 3 buys before we head out.
All right, well, 2 of these are going to sound like I made them up after the fact. But anyway, it's Deontay
Sullivan.
Johnson.
Sullivan.
Steven Sullivan. Sully, as he's known in Monsters, Inc. But, yeah, Deontay Johnson, still Marquise Brown. He should be able to get cheap this week. And Amari Cooper. And just for fun, if you want to pivot off someone, has actually a decent WAR score, and you would not know it, would be Gabe Davis.
I love Gabe Davis for some odd reason. I shouldn't because he hurts me, but I still he's the true wide receiver 3 boomer bust on a dynasty roster. Like he's your flex starter that you're hoping for a touchdown or you're gonna get 4. So yeah, I like those buys a lot. Shane, you want to tell everybody where you're at before we go? Because apparently I'm wrong on where you are at. So.
Yeah, I'm with Dynasty Trades in 5. We have a live stream every Tuesday. We have a Patreon. So we do an AMA in there on Saturday nights, Monday morning drive with me to work, pop in randomly. That's it. And then my writing's at Destination Devi. I do follow the volume. It's a cool site. Check out all the tools they have over there. But yeah, you can join our Patreon at Dynasty Trades in 5, where they also there's a combo tier for the D5 to join Destination Devi's website and the Dynasty Trades in 5 Patreon tier.
Very, very nice. And hey, don't forget to check out dynastynerds.com and get their tools. Shane, I know you guys sponsor them and Dynasty Trades HQ. And hey, go get their stuff because it's great. And also because we also get a little money back is what Shane would always say.
No, look, Dynasty Nerds is awesome. It's a great site. But most importantly, if you sign up for them and use the DHH code, Tyler can have some money. And it's good
I can go finally
for
buy
content creators to get some money.
Yeah. I'm addicted to the Dynasty GM because I'm always like, hey, I'm not in the top 3 here. I'm not ranked top 3. Oh, this ain't happening. We're gonna go get some guys. So it also boosts your kind of trade monster inside of you. It releases it. And hey, you know what, Shane? I just want to say thank you for jumping on with me because Doug and James were just too scared to join because the Giants got destroyed. The Patriots got owned. And I decided to come on because somebody has to carry this place. But hey, Shane, once again, I appreciate you. And you know what? Doug and James will probably be back next week. And I probably will too. So the show won't be quite off the rails and probably be a little better. So once again, thank you guys for watching and listening. And we'll see you next week.